This is Eric Brotman, the host of Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that teaches you how to advance into retirement rather than retreating. And this is Office Hours, where we answer questions that listeners just like you send in. We received a question from Jason, who asked, if a person has a retirement account with 7 figures in it, could they be saving too much for retirement? Jason, I appreciate the question. That's a very interesting topic and one that all financial advisors and frankly, savers need to think about. Is there a point in time where you're saving too much for the rainy day or for the future and not living now? And there's certainly a balance to be struck. What I would say to you is that 7 figures is not what it used to be. So let's start with that. The idea that $1 million and being a millionaire was financially free is not necessarily the case. If you had $1 million today and you needed to live on it for what could be a 30-year retirement, the absolute maximum that you would want to draw against that account is 4%. And even that is not always a secure withdrawal rate. If you're pulling 4% out of $1 million account, that's $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year, even added to Social Security, may very well not be the financial independence or retirement that you would like it to be. It might be, but it might not be. So what I would submit to you is that while it is possible to sacrifice so much of your current lifestyle and so much of your current enjoyment of life to try and squirrel money away for the future, there are certainly situations where that's possible. It's not necessarily based on the size of the account. It's much more based on your lifestyle and what decisions you make and what bills you have and what considerations there are that are unique to you. So Jason, in your situation, if you're living on $100,000 a year and you want to replace that $100,000 a year by being financially independent tomorrow, you would need $2.5 million to do that, assuming that same 4% withdrawal. So if the account that you have is $1.5 million, you're not actually ready to replace your entire income. Now, that doesn't mean you can't retire. You might be able to retire in the sense that we like to talk about here, which is to graduate to the next level, to doing something part-time. It might mean downsizing. It might mean moonlighting or consulting or doing some other things. But you couldn't take that $1.5 million account and turn it into $100,000 a year of income without significantly running a risk of running out of money before you run out of life. And that is one of the scariest things. Some recent studies were done showing what the risks are in retirement. And actually, I recently published an article on Forbes.com about this. And the single biggest one is longevity. It's living too long. And, the second one is healthcare. So if the two biggest risks that are out there are you live too long or you're not living healthy enough, both of those things are going to require a lot more money than any of us dream of. And so we're living in an environment right now where we haven't had inflation in a long time. We hardly remember what it's like to have the dollar be devalued. But ultimately, I suspect it'll happen again. That's a cyclical piece of economics. So I would say that having 7 figures in your retirement account, depending on your lifestyle, may be plenty, or it may be just a start. And so it depends on your age, your health, your expenses, and some other factors. So yes, it is possible to save too much for retirement. I don't know very many people who say, I want to have the biggest retirement account possible when I die. It's been said that he who dies with the most toys wins. I say he who dies with the most toys still dies, and you can't take it with you. So it's important to enjoy your wealth and your abundance and your life and all those kinds of things. I do think it's possible to save too much for retirement. I don't think it's likely, though. For most Americans, for most savers and investors, life is going to be more expensive than we imagine, and we're going to live longer than we dream. So if you're contemplating, in your case, Jason, if you're contemplating no longer contributing to retirement because you think you've already hit that financial independence spot, that may very well be true. I would tell you to stress test it. I would tell you to live as though you were only living on what that account could generate for a year and see how you do, or even for 6 months. I would also tell you that there are other types of accounts you could add to. So if your concern is, my goodness, I'm overfunding my 401k at work, and I don't want to have that huge a balance that's going to be taxable, you can start saving in other types of accounts. You can use non-qualified accounts. You can use brokerage or mutual fund accounts. You can use bank accounts. You can use insurance vehicles. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. And they're not retirement accounts, but they're still long-term savings, long-term investments, and they'll still help you with reaching financial independence in a sustainable way in case you live to be 107. So, Jason, I love that question. I hope this was helpful. Would love to talk more with you about that. If you'd like to contact us, we're at bfgfa.com. And for all of our listeners, please consider sending us a question that we might answer in a future episode of Office Hours. For more, go to don'tretiregraduate.com. Post your question on our Facebook page or tweet us at Brotman Planning. Don't Retire Graduate is now a book available in print, Kindle, and audio formats. For more information or to order your copy, go to brotmanmedia.com/books or search for Eric Brotman on Amazon.com. Thanks for coming to Office Hours. Be sure to tune in for new content every Thursday. For now, this is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.
Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC. Kestra IS. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC. Kestra AS. An affiliate of Kestra IS. Kestra IS or Kestra AS are not affiliated with Brotman Financial or any other entity discussed.